Hey, I'm Rolonda Watts, and I'm so happy you're taking time to join my webinar. We're going to talk about 5 surefire ways to help you develop delicious characters. You may hear me every day announcing Sherry on The Sherry Show.
Your host, Sherry Shepherd.
Professor Wiseman on Curious George.
Careful, George. These formations take a very long time to form. Even the gentlest touch can damage them.
Or you might hear me in my new animated series, Invincible Fight Girl, on Adult Swim and HBO Max. What do you want? Or you may hear me as the cannibal Mama Hitch on Netflix.
A defenseless old woman, would you? I reckon you would at that. They call me Mama Hitch, and these here my boys, Joe Bob and Bob Bob.
Or maybe you're a gamer and you love League of Legends and Alawi.
Man, they break too easily.
Or maybe she might say something like,
I would have him for dinner or barbecue.
having fun in the booth, playing all those different characters, won me this Emmy Award, the Silver Circle, for 40 years commitment and dedication to daytime television, and most of it was for my voice work. The Sherry Show, Divorce Court, Curious George, which is why you see monkeys all over my office. But I love voice acting, and I'm so glad you're here because you're making a commitment with your time, an investment with your time, and I'm so honored and just really humbled that you chose to spend this time with me. So let's get right down to it. Building characters is so important in voice acting. I think one of the biggest myths of voice acting is you just have to have a great voice. But really, voice acting is about a lot more than just your voice. It's really about how well you act. Are you a good actor? Can you connect those words on that page to another human being right across the table from you? How do you do that? How do you build characters that make casting directors listen for more than 3 seconds? How do you make characters that make money, for God's sakes? How do you book the job? Well, I'm going to take you through what I call the Rolonda method, 5 distinct tips, 5 things to remember when you're breaking down a script and building delicious characters. I bombed a few times because I just didn't get it until I took a class. I thought I could just make up voices, but I didn't get that I had to make an emotional connection to the copy, to the story, to the listener, to whoever it was I was talking with. I had to know a lot more than those words, and I had to do a lot more than reading. I hope you have a notebook. As I always say, note takers are money makers, because I'm going to be dropping some gems here today. We're going to be talking about character development, which I think is such a fun topic to talk about, but also one that's so crucial in whatever area of voice acting you're in. Whether you're voicing a commercial, you're a sassy sidekick in a commercial, or you're a villain in a video game, or whether you're playing a mama bear in an animated series. Character is always something that stands out, that makes that whole story, the whole production memorable, are each of those characters. So how do you find the characters that book? How do you create and build characters that make casting directors listen for more than 3 seconds? And how do you build them with confidence? Well, in this next half hour or so, I'm going to be sharing some of my special sauce, some of my secrets to success in voice acting. And believe me, I've been exactly where you are. Listen, whether you're a beginner and you're like, I don't even know where to begin. I don't even know what I don't know. Or whether you're a seasoned pro that's been hustling in the booth for years, there's always something that might tweak or realign your performance that might help you start booking even more again. Maybe some things you haven't considered or some things to try. I'm going to be spilling my guts in the next half hour, sharing with you what I believe are 5 major steps to help you build any character. And these are steps, we're going to call them the Rolonda method, okay? But 5 major steps that are going to help you really dig down and find out who this character is. You know, one of the biggest myths is that if you make up a funny voice, you'll get the job. Honey, you can have the silkiest voice like Barry White and the squeakiest voice like Winnie the Pooh, my buddy Jim Cummings, and Tigger too. But you can have the best voice in the world, but if you can't act, voice acting, it's really not even about the sound of your voice as much as it is about the acting ability that you have behind it. That's what's going to help me as a human connect to you and the story you're telling and the character you're playing and what the client is trying to achieve through that, what the writer is trying to achieve. Oh, there's so much to learn, and we're going to go on that journey. What are those 5 steps, you may ask? Well, the first one is finding the truth in a character. We're going to talk about that. Also, number 2, unlocking what that signature sound is. Like when I said Winnie the Pooh, you immediately know the sound. When I say Curious George, you know the sound. When I say Viola Davis, you know her sound. These are also branding of a character through the sounds that you're going to create with them.
Is the placement of your voice really up here and very nasally?
Or is it down here and very deep and very strong?
Where is your placement of voice? So what will that signature sound be, using our pace and rhythm and all kinds of pitch and fun things to give us a vocal fingerprint is what I call it. Also, how do we use our bodies? You know, this whole thing of voice acting, like I said, is about acting. And even though it's only your voice, you are using everything. This beautiful body that I encourage you to take good care of because it houses this beautiful vocal box, the most beautiful instrument in the world, I call it. But it is very important that you use your body. Did you just hear how its use sounded different when I raised my arms? As we use our imagination, using our bodies is going to be very important. When I'm doing a fight scene, I'm in there moving. You know, when I play Alawi in the video game League of Legends, and I come out of that booth, I am sweating because I've been doing the work. Now, be careful that you don't rub your clothes and it picks up on the microphone or you hit your mic stand. Those are things you have to work out. But I encourage you to stand up and use your body, and we're going to talk more about that. Number 4, building range and emotionality. You know, casting directors are going to hear 500 of these auditions, so please make yours stand out. And one of the ways we can do that is to ensure the casting director and the person who's going to make the final decision in hiring is that in the session they have with you, that you can do more than one emotion. So we're going to learn how to find ways that we can differentiate, how we can make this character many layers and different layers all in one audition, okay? And also, how do you polish up for that audition? I always say give them 3 if you can. Try to find this. Challenge yourself to do this in your next audition. And we're going to talk more about this in this webinar also. I always say give them 3 great auditions. 1, do it straight by the book, just the way they put it there, okay? Then number 2, give it a little unique twist, something that's something that's part of your personality that makes it unique. And then 3, if you find it in you, give them a wild card, just something crazy. And I'm going to tell you in instances that you've now heard on television how that wild card got me that job. So, yeah, I'm going to go behind the scenes and talk with you about how I got the job on Madagascar and playing Curious George, Professor Wiseman, the Sherry Show, Divorce Court, Judge Joe Brown. I'm going to give you some behind the scenes secrets on what I did in that audition that helped me land those freaking jobs. And it was all, y'all, it was all in the character development. Just really being believable as that character. And we're going to talk more about what that means. So those are the 5 things that we're going to go over, the 5 steps to bookable characters, I would say. At least things that are going to get those casting directors listening beyond those first 3 seconds. Listen, they don't have time to listen all day to your whole thing. So catch them at the beginning. I want them to say, oh, you had me at hello. Okay, let's jump right into step number 1 of the Rolonda method of building great characters. Those characters that make the casting director stop and go, "Ooh, who is that? I like them." Number 1 is getting down to the truth of the character. Who is this character? What do they want? Who are they talking with? What's the relationship they have with the person they're talking with, or the thing they're talking with, or the animal they're talking with? But what's the relationship? Where has this person just come from? Where are they going? What's really important to them? Trust and believe. I always say God is in the details. The more details you give your character, the more layers, the more you know about that character, the more you're going to get closer to booking that job, because you're going to be so believable as that character. Now, we get descriptions in a lot of our auditions, descriptions that give a lot of the adjectives: a caring mom, who's a little intimidating and a little snarky, but kind. So you want to make sure that as you're building your character and you're practicing your audition, that you're bringing in those things that the description is clearly telling you it wants. Those are major clues as to build the character. Now, they don't always tell you why. You don't always get the entire script, but that is when your great questions are going to come in. I'm a big believer, I'm a big fan of Uta Hagen's 9 questions. And she asked questions like, Uta Hagen was a great dramatist, and she taught a lot of the major stars in Hollywood. I'm really influenced by Uta Hagen's 9 questions, and I always insist that my students go back to these 9 questions. Who am I? What time is it? Where am I? What surrounds me? What are the given circumstances? What are my relationships? What do I want? What is in my way? And what do I do to get what I want? Now, usually it's a very quick audition, but I tell you, even though it seems like a lot of work, the more you know about your character, the more those specifics are going to help you win in the believability department. Because if you see it, I'll see it. What you don't find in the script, imagine. Where is this mother coming from? It says she's harried. She says she's breathless. Oh, maybe she's coming from maybe her kid just fell off the bike and she's looking for Band-Aids. So you come in with a little breath and you give it some, oh my goodness, what did I do with the Band-Aid? So that you bring in the circumstances as well. Question, and follow the directions, and then add some on your own so that you can get to the heart of who this character really, really is, so you can make it more believable. And the more specific you are, the more they'll feel real to you. And that gives you confidence to go any way you want. Don't forget, try to find different emotions. So that means you have to come up with different storylines for this character, but you want to show the casting director that you have range with your emotions as well as your voice. Tip number 2, unlock that signature sound. What is that sound? Is it raspy? Is it deep? Is it Barry Manilow deep? Is it squeaky, squirrely, clean, high-pitched sound? What is the signature sound that you will have? I know when I was choosing Professor Wiseman's sound, I was very influenced as a kid by the Flintstones, and I always loved Wilma's lyrical way of talking. So I wanted to bring that kind of innocence in with Professor Wiseman. I also wanted to make her very, very articulate because she's a scientist. And so I added a little lilt, and she also has a best friend that's a monkey. And you know how I got that job? I asked the director, why did y'all hire me? And I'm sure you had thousands and thousands of potential Professor Wisemans. Why me? And they said, you never talked down to the monkey. Well, he is the star of the show. And he's my best friend. And he's curious. And that's what I love about him. Curious George and Professor Wiseman are like this. And it just goes to show you how important relationships are to the characters that we play. And that my being able to add a little kindness. So it's like, hello, George, would you like to go to the museum? She's very lyrical and almost as if she's leaning over on her knees, talking to George. Hi, George. Of course, it's okay to take apart the clock. How else are you going to learn if you're not curious? So all of those types of little pitch and range help a lot. What if you had a character like this? Don't you love her? Oh my God, I love this character. Now look at her. A lot of times when I'm breaking down my characters, I'm looking at everything about them. What does it say? Now, the casting director might have sent me what the writer was looking for, and I'm sure you can almost imagine. But how would you make her, first of all? What's her backstory when we get to her truth? Well, clearly, maybe she just woke up and she's got her morning cigarette. You can almost hear those bedroom slippers slushing across the floor. And that bra and her hand on her hip. And her hair, Lord have mercy, what is going on?
And to me, she gonna have a raspy kind of little voice. 'Cause she a smoker. And also because look at her teeth. See, those teeth gotta have some kind of, they gotta have a life on their own. 'Cause they look at them lips and them teeth. So she might have a whistle every once in a while. I don't care. Look at her with a hand on her hip.
So she's got attitude. Look at all the fun things we can play with her. What's her signature sound? Does she have, when people talk to her, she,
bullshit.
Maybe that's her signature. What sound would you give her? So having a backstory certainly helps. Is she from Chicago? Accents are very important to help us find the specifics in characters. Is she Jamaican? Is she West Indian, which is a different sound? Is she Cockney? Because she could be from someplace else if she wanted to. But I'd use those teeth again. You know, and then maybe she takes a drag on her cigarette. But what are those signature things that she might say or do? And even with her flaws, y'all, flaws are part of the physicality of a voice, which is number 3, using your body. Do you see how we use a raspy, hoarse voice and a lisp and attitude and all of that stuff to build the character? And as you start living with all of those things, they all come to life. This is also where you put your hands on your hip and you smoke your cigarette, and it might help you find the voice more, you know? Using those physicalities, using your whole body to help you find the character helps also. Standing, I find, is very beneficial because there's a lot of energy when you stand at your booth. Be able to have, I have one of those desks that go up or down, And so there are times I'll sit here at my desk and record some things. But there are times, like if I'm doing a video game or a really exaggerated character, I would like to stand up so I can use all of my physicality. I had to watch my coats in my coat closet because every once in a while I'd give a great take and that elbow would hit one of those winter coats, you know, those that make a lot of noise, and I would blow the take. So be careful about that kind of stuff. Let me tell you something else I learned recently I'm going to share with you. Those big old water bottles that we use, you know, in our booths and stuff, be careful. They're very reflective. Just another little tip there. Just put that in your hip pocket too. Also, building our range and emotional flexibility. There are times that when I will read a line and I'll read it maybe 3 different ways just till I find it in my body. Like one way might be, I'm going to read it happy. Like, okay, let's say the line is, the package is coming today. Okay, the package is coming today. You know, I'm really happy. The package is coming today. The package is coming today. You know, different happy ways. Then sad. The package is coming today. The package is coming today. The package is coming today. Then maybe terrified. The package is coming today. The package is coming today. The package is coming today. Whatever it is, find it in a range of emotions. Those could be 3 different takes depending upon what, you know, the parameters of the script are. But don't be afraid to find emotion. You're going to find different voices in doing that. By putting a different emotion or a different, as we say, point of view or a different attitude. But just to change it up a bit, be very careful. Do not give 3 takes of the same character. They really don't have time for that. And listen, we all fall into it, but just remember, all 3 takes should sound different. I mean, and going back to our girl here, I mean, we might play her as Shaniqua, 1 take. We might play her as a Jamaican Rastafarian, another take. And we may play her as a staunch New Yorker or something fun. You know what I'm saying? But there should be 3 different takes. And you want to show the casting director that you have range. Listen, I always look at it this way because you're going to get frustrated. You're going to put in all this work and you may or may not get the gig, but that's part of the job because the audition is your job. But you're going to impress a casting director. If you do these 5 steps every time you build character, you're going to impress casting directors who will have you back. Because we don't have control over whether or not we get the job, but we do have a lot of control over what we do behind the mic. So the 5th one, like I said, I think we already covered that, but, you know, record 3 takes, the safety read exactly as written, then the creative read with your own unique special sauce and flavor, and the wild card that's unexpected but still true to the character. And you know something, sometimes that wild card is what gets you hired. Let me tell you how I got hired. I've got an AT&T commercial running right now. AT&T. And it's about a mother and a daughter. And the daughter goes online and sees her mother out with her girlfriends salsaing with some crazy good-looking Latin man on a dance floor. And she's like, "Mother, look at you." And the mother's like, "Oh, yeah, we went out last night and we twirled." We twirled was not in the script. But I tapped into my truth. I know what happens when I get on a salsa dance floor with my girlfriends on girls' night out with a hot Latino star. I twirled. That's what got me that job. Yes, I read the script like it was. Yes, we had fun. We were out on girls' night and we ended up dancing with Rodrigo. And I twirled. Boom. It made the casting director laugh. It was memorable. It touched something because it was real. It was so true. That's what we do. We scream and shout and twirl and have fun on that night. So I wanted to embody that, girl, I am not paying any attention to you. Me and my girls had a good time. And I'm also in an age where we don't give a hootie coot what you think about us. We're going to have a good time. Woo-hoo! So I brought all of that into the character, and that's just what they were looking for. That je ne sais quoi. They couldn't quite put their finger on it or tell somebody what to do. They'll know it when they hear it. And they heard the fun, like, I do not care. And there was all this great stuff that happened on AT&T. Honey, we might have sold a phone or two. Let me tell you where else that crazy wild line gets you. And sometimes it's just in your attitude. When I was auditioning for the Judge Joe Brown show, who I did promos for 5 years and was Emmy nominated, when I first got the audition, I remember, back then, a lot of the promos, especially daytime television, were done by men. But I had a familiar voice. I'd been a talk show host for 4 years. I'd been a news reporter and anchor woman in this city for 10 years before that. So I had a familiar voice, particularly in daytime television. So they took a chance on me to do the promos for Judge Joe Brown. I definitely knew the daytime audience. And, the promos are like, Shantae says she's going to scratch up his car. I'm going to scratch up your car, Shantae. Woo, coming up on Next Judge Joe. Well, when I was listening to the sound bites in the booth while I'm waiting to say my line, I got so intrigued that when it came back to me, the only thing I could say was, woo, on the Next Judge Joe. Honey, they fell on the floor. I went, oh my God, I just totally forgot myself. But I just became myself, and I wasn't an announcer. I was so entrenched. It was a real reaction, and it was the way women at home on the couch react when they look at Judge Joe. They loved it. They said, keep the attitude, the sassiness, because that's kind of our daytime audience kind of flair, at least back in that time it was. And I tell you, that thing got me the job. Do you know that they created a little what we call bug? It was a little cartoon in the corner when Judge Joe promos would come on. And her name was Lady Justice. And I voiced this animated character who my backstory for her was she was in love with Judge Joe Brown. And she was just like every other lady who was sitting on their couch watching Joe. And she was like, go get him, Joe. And it was just fabulous that they allowed me to have fun like that. And I was like, on the Next Joe, get him, Joe. And Lady Liberty became her own character. It was one of the best gigs I ever had. Judge Joe helped me buy a couple of houses. And it all goes to show you that wild card, bringing in your own self, your own flavor, your own attitude, being authentic, being naturally who you are, works in this business. Don't lock up behind the microphone. Your imagination, your uniqueness, all of that, what I call your special sauce, baby, all of that stuff comes to fore and plays quite well indeed. So, I think we've gone over everything. Oh, look what I found for you guys. Y'all, here was the very first drawing of Professor Wiseman. That was what I got and had to come up with a voice for Professor Wiseman. A job that would last me for 20-something years now. I've been Professor Wiseman. My babies, because we have long been the #1 animated show for kids 1 to 5. My babies are 20-something now since I started. Isn't that something? So many. And that's why the Curious Georges you always see around. And that's where you see my Silver Circle Award, the Emmys. I got an Emmy for my 40-year contribution to daytime television, which included a lot of my voice work, from Curious George to Divorce Court, and Judge Joe Brown and the Rolonda Show. My voice work was a lot of why I got that award, and so you never know where your voice can take you. Here's another fun one, a character I played in Madagascar. Now, her name is Edith. Take a good look at Edith. How would you voice her? This was a DreamWorks product for Madagascar, and I had to come up with a voice. Well, let's see what the copy says. It says she's a female, of course, and she's 50s or 60s. Her name is Edith Van Gooperhausen. She's a wealthy New York City socialite and absent-minded jet-setter who is rarely seen without her prized Maine Coon cat, Sir Braxton, or as she calls him, Braxty, Braxy Waxy, or Braxicans. Her thick glasses and luxurious lifestyle make her oblivious at times of her furry baby's needs for the great outdoors. All of a sudden, I'm hearing the voice coming to me. But she makes up for treating Sir Braxton to the finer things in life, like hotel room service, private helicopter rides, and lavender-scented bubble baths. Now, I took it because if she's highfalutin and she's wealthy and she's got little lips, you see how she's got the little lips and she's a little bit wow, she's wide-eyed, and the fluffy feather says that she's rather, and the pearls, oh, she's quite something. The flat shoe says she moves around, but she also has a belly, so you might want to bring in some lower notes there too. So that's the way I interpreted her. Now, here are Edith's lines. Sir Braxton, where are you? Here, kitty, kitty. Oh, there you are, Sir Braxy Waxy. It's time for lunch. So based on that, because these are just words on a page until you turn them into the magic that will get the casting director and DreamWorks or Disney or somebody going, oh my God, who is that? I love them, and hire you. And for years, you'll be a cartoon character. Let's take a look at who Edith turned out to be. Take a look.
Is Sir Braxton ready for Betty by nighty-night?
Meow.
Why do you smell so ordinary? We have to do our nighttime beauty regimen.
Meow. Huh?
Sweepy weepy, my Braxtony Waxtony.
Meow.
So you see, what starts in your imagination can be on a screen very soon. I am so happy that you stuck with me all the way to the end of this webinar, and I hope you got some very good tips. Let me just throw in a couple of others while I'm thinking of it. While I'm encouraging you to stick to the words on the page, it's okay every once in a while to throw in a little pre-life like, oh my goodness, duh. Or if it's a regional thing, say, by golly, da-da-da-da-da-da. You know, to throw in a couple of little ad-libs here and there to make it more realistic or more authentic to the area that you're in. You know, I know that when I play a pirate, he's always, arg me gosh, you know, things like that that'll just add to the flavor of what you're delivering. So a little button at the end, like twirl, add those things because a little laughter in the casting room goes a long way. So if you can bring a little funny, find the funny, bring the laughter into it, that's going to put you very far ahead as well. Another tip, folks, you've done the great audition, you've applied Rolonda's method, the 5 things to remember in your hip pocket. But if you don't label your audition correctly, the way that system wants you to label it, is it an underscore, is it a dash? You know, does the character's name come first and then my name come first? Is there a space between the first and last name? All of those things matter. Every office has their own system, and they don't have time to correct your audition, and you don't want to miss the audition based on your lack of reading the directions and labeling correctly. So please check that out. And also, I would say, for the most part, we're not doing a lot of slating. And when I say slate, that's when you start off Rolonda Watts and then launch into the audition. That's called a slate. A lot of times we're not doing them as much as we used to, so pay close attention to the directions. Do they want a slate or not? Sometimes they might want a slate and you tell them where you're located. Or they may say, why do you like cats? You don't know, but read those directions is what I'm saying. It's chock full of all of the things you need to do to label correctly and do the right thing on camera, but also read those directions because they hold all kinds of clues for your characters. I go and underline all of those adjectives. If I don't understand what snarky means, I look it up. If they say a Viola Davis type and I don't know who Viola Davis is, like my head's in the sand, I look her up. So be careful to do that. And also, y'all, see what the casting director has cast before. See what the producer or writer has done before. If it's something for Nickelodeon, go and see what that is. How different is Nickelodeon from Adult Swim? So you know the attitudes to give in these things. Do your research. Also, if you're doing an animal or an inanimate object, look it up on YouTube University. What does an aardvark look like? How does it walk? How is it built? That's going to give you some fun things. Oh, here's another fun story. One of my students came to me because she said, my agent keeps sending me to do voiceovers and I keep getting birds. I don't know how to play a bird. I said, girl, get in this class and let's play birds. I had her playing every bird from pigeons to swans. I mean, she was just playing every bird. Do you know that lady got out of my class and her first job she booked was with Warner Brothers playing Tweety Bird's Queen Tweety Bird, a canary? I don't know how that happens. That's just God. But it happened, y'all. And she's now going quite on her way and doing quite well in the voice acting industry, playing birds and all. But as an actress, she expanded her horizon now as a voice actor. And now the beauty of voice acting is you can play way more than just human beings and still get paid. On Curious George, by the way, I'm not only Professor Wiseman, I'm Compass the Pigeon, too. And you know what might be a fun thing to do as you're discovering all of your new voices? Collect them. Put your old lady voices together, your animal voices together, all of your inanimate objects, your impersonations, your growls and roars and all of that stuff. Put them all together because down the road, a year or so now, those voices may come in handy. You might forget them voices and remember them because you recorded them. But, you don't have to. But that's something, if you're practicing, which I hope you're doing, I hope that you'll save some of those good voices so you can remember them when it really counts. So there you go. I've spilled all the beans. I hope you got some great gems. And I hope that you will go and practice. None of this makes any difference if you don't practice. And as I always say, the motto to my voice acting masterclass, when you're prepared, you're no longer scared. And I think you've got enough notes there to put in your hip pocket to help you win on that next audition, to step up to that microphone with confidence and know at least 5 things you can do to help win that gig and at least impress the casting director because they'll have you back if they like you. Now, if you're ready for deeper coaching and live feedback with me, then come join my voice acting masterclass. It's a 6-week deep dive into the joys and the art of voice acting, and it will save you so many years, so much time in getting forward and practicing your craft. And I'm going to work with you one-on-one, and you're going to be part of a marvelous community of masterclass students. They call my class VAMC. I said, that's kind of like a university, like HBCU or something. But my students are enjoying it, and they are booking. They are getting agents. They are feeling more confident in what they're doing. And my voice acting masterclass is indeed changing some lives. So if you'd like to know more about it, feel free to set up a discovery call, or feel free to enroll right now and take advantage of some of these specials I have going right now. For more about my voice acting masterclass, go to Rolonda.com. That's ROLONDA.com, and check out my masterclass. And be sure to sign up for my free webinars as well. And follow me in all forms of social media at Rolonda Watts. And there's some more great voice acting tips over there on my YouTube channel, Rolonda channel. I'll see you over there. And thanks so much for spending this time with me.